Hello and welcome everyone back to Real Tax Talks. I have Steve Firouzian who's joining us today. And Steve, thank you so much for being here. Love to hear a little bit about you if you'd like to share with our listeners. Uh,
Yes, my name's Steve Firouzian. I'm here in beautiful Columbus, Ohio. I've been here for 47 years. I went to Ohio State University business degree, got out and did various things. I really didn't know what I was going to get into, but eventually I got into real estate, um, flipped houses for about 10 years. And I used the money. I got involved with franchise operations such as Subway, uh, a very brief franchise of a company called Cuppy's Coffee, which was actually based in Florida. The company itself went under, but I continued with the name, did that for a while. Um, I learned a lot about owning a small business, being inside the business. And so the lesson that I learned was that um, for me, it was a good experience running an operation. Um, but these days, what I'm trying to do is think on the opposite side, meaning that I would love to help restaurant owners, small businesses, and help them with funding. That's where I feel like I belong right now. I, for me, small franchise operations, I was under impression that I could come in and use them as an investment. But what the lesson I learned, those particular operations that I chose, such as Subway, Jimmy John's, Jersey Mike, small operations are really a hands-on operation. That means you have to go in there, you have to spend 50, 60 hours a week. So I guess if you like to be a business owner, you want to be the boss, that's one thing. But if you're thinking you're going to become a rich person by running those, that's not it. It's just a job. So my advice is that yeah, if you want to own your own small business, whether it's pet grooming, whether it's Subway, whatever, yes, you can work it and make an honest living and move forward. But I have this entrepreneur thing in me that, I like to make money and I love. So the lesson I learned was that if I want to make much more money than just being a business owner, I want to be from the outside and fund deals. So I just started a brokerage business. Um, and I was trained on a platform, and I've been in this business for about 6 months, and I've already funded 4 restaurants and an HVAC business and some real estate as well. So I love where I am right now. I don't really have to deal with brick and mortar. I don't have to deal with
yeah,
franchise royalties, employees, managers. So I just wish I knew about this 20 years earlier. But
that's interesting. We talk a lot about real estate and capital, and you mentioned, kind
yes,
of your
sir.
past in that. But uh, also being an accounting firm, I speak to different business owners and entrepreneurs who are looking at
Mhm,
buying into a franchise, and that's actually one of the things that I was thinking about because I review a lot of these, and one of them was I remember
mhm,
was a pizza franchise. I'll never forget that
mhm.
if they didn't sell over $1 million a year, basically they needed to sell $100,000 a month pizza.
Right.
They wouldn't make money. The only one who would make money was the franchisor, right? The actual franchise.
Franchisor.
They're the ones who are making the money, no matter
I
what,
know.
whether you make
I
money
know.
or not.
Exactly.
And I actually and my morning routine of working out, I was thinking yesterday, you know, uh, it's almost like the Vegas, the house always wins when it comes to the. Doesn't mean that there
Excellent
aren't
point.
good ones, but yeah,
That's
I've
true.
had the experience of you either full time there working, which
Right.
people don't realize that, especially when you're starting up, right? And if you bought an existing one that had an absentee owner, you might be able to step in, but you're still gotta, at least
That's
do the
right.
maintenance. So those are really interesting things. And so, talking a little bit about raising capital. So you help entrepreneurs raise capital for their business needs. Is it for is this secured debt, or tell me a little bit more about how does it generally work?
So I have a few lenders out there. that they offer many different products. I was told by one particular lender that I should only focus on one product only and be really good at it instead of everybody. If you look at my LinkedIn profile, I offer, uh, you know, DSCR, term loans, merchant cash advance, which is my least favorite, as well as SBA. SBA right now is my favorite. It's very conservative. It's got great reputation, uh, and it's very conservative. So the lender that I work with out of California, who is extremely successful, does 100,000 a month in revenue for himself. And he told me, Steve, if you want to be successful, learn one product only and be good at it, and then we'll move on. So I am focusing on right now on restaurant owners and healthcare businesses, doctors, and these are the businesses that are revenue based. Now, SBA does have tough guidelines. Unfortunately, President Trump, about a month ago, said, no, if you are not an American citizen, we cannot give you SBA. And he may be right. If you're a permanent residency, you have green card, you cannot no longer be able to use the SBA. But even with that said, SBA is an incredible product that I offer, especially for even franchisees. For example, right now, I have a gentleman in north of Ohio owns a franchise of Teriyaki Madness, which is a beautiful franchise operation. It's a beautiful, tasty food. I love it. And he owns two operations. He's going for the third. He would be a perfect example of me funding him. He wants $800,000. Credit scores at 820. He's doing two, each store does $1 million a year in sales. Perfect scenario. So that's where I'm focusing right now. Whether it's restaurant or HVAC business, construction, trucking companies, we look at the revenues and, they're not losing money, they're not bleeding. And so we look at those things. But yeah, I'm focused on SBA right now. And that's what we, offer at this point.
So okay, so great. So SBA loans, you're looking at folks in varied industries, but definitely restaurants seem and
Yes.
healthcare seem to be pretty prominent ones. And these have to be existing businesses, or can they be startups?
Great question, Mike. SBA sometimes does look at startups. Like for me, I started a pet grooming business based in Orlando, Florida, Wolfgang Grooming. You
Mhm.
may know there are hundreds of them. Beautiful. I'm not going to say anything bad or good about it. We're not here to talk about them, but uh, I wasn't successful with it. But I sold mine a couple of years ago. But Wolfgang Grooming, because they have a good reputation, like Subway,
Mhm.
they are part of the SBA program, meaning the SBA recognizes them. So in certain situations, SBA says, yes, we can do a startup, provided that you have a good, excellent tax returns. It's very, very vital that for that person to have a current career in maybe like for example, maybe like you, he's an engineer or has his own consulting. He has income coming in. That is extremely important. Then SBA will give you 300,000, 500,000 as a startup. But they would probably want to make sure it's personally guaranteed as well. Meaning, if God forbid, if you fail in your LLC business, then you're accountable.
And okay, so that's for a startup or maybe like starting up a franchise. Those tend to be now if you are uh, you, if you're an existing business, they're looking at businesses that are cash flowing and have net
Correct.
positive income. Okay, excellent. And generally, what do they? How does that work? Because I actually I hear different things from different but I'm curious. The lenders you work with, do they do based on net income, gross sales? How do they determine what's the amount?
Could be various things. I'm truly not involved in the underwriting. They train us not to get involved with that because then if I may say the wrong thing to the customer, so I leave that out. But it could be any of those. They look at it. It depends on the person. They look at your resume. They look at your past experiences. With me, with Wolfgang Grooming, Mike, they did not 100%. Well, Wolfgang Grooming had its own business plan. I gave that to Huntington National Bank. In my case, Huntington Bank turned around and said, "Yeah, we like Wolfgang Grooming Bakery's business design. Why should we give that to you? Why do you think you are capable of running a pet grooming business? We know you had coffee shops, we know you had restaurants, but why this?" They made me take a 1 week, 40-hour class in business planning. So with Huntington Bank, it was really tough. I have a lender now that I use that he closes the SBA within 45 days. Whereas with Huntington Bank, they've been around for 70, 80 years. It took them 6 months to get me, uh, uh, yeah,
Wow.
to get me going. So it all depends. So, and I don't blame them, but it depends on various things. You know, it could be one person could be a month he's done, somebody else could be 6 months, and they may not even take him. They might deny him.
Interesting.
So
Okay. And so I know when we started, you mentioned you were previously franchisee.
mm,
You talked about like some of them weren't as you one of them you were basically buying yourself a job.
yeah,
So working 50, 60 hours, and other ones you
sure.
were uh and you were not maybe not as successful as you would have liked. Uh
Yes.
how did those challenges, how did that transfer over to the work that you're doing now and helping business owners obtain financing?
I have this sort of a empathy and sympathy for restaurant owners. To me, I have not truly seen, Michael, a franchisee who's been in their job for more than 5 years, except if it's Wendy's or McDonald's. Now, Wendy's started in Columbus. I went to the same high school as Wendy Thomas did,
Mhm,
except she was much older. I met, I don't know if you remember Dave Thomas
mhm,
so he lived down the street from us. So I took, when I was at Ohio State University, Dave Thomas came and made a speech for us. Um, the difference between those type franchisees and the smaller what I learned was that uh, unfortunately that the smaller franchisees uh, the first year you're excited, the second year you're a little bit you're doubting yourself, by the third year you know you made a mistake, by the fourth year you're stressed, by the fifth year you want out. And that goes with Subway, uh, pet grooming business, because their revenues are up to about a million. Million is a lot of money, 80,000 a month. But when you subtract the 8% royalty, the payroll, the sales tax, the anything can go wrong with your AC, your HVAC, you're going to be barely making it ends meet. It's better if you work down the street and make 3 grand a month doing something else, that you become a shock absorber, basically. You take everything and you end up showing nothing. Now, there's an upside to that. Now you're looking at Wendy's or McDonald's. An average McDonald's does about 3 million a year in sales, 3 million. And the net income for a franchisee, 90% of Wendy's and McDonald's are privately owned. And when I talk to some of these franchisees, they're happy. If you do 3.5 million a year and your net income is about 180 to 200,000 a year, that shows you the relationship between the gross and the net. So when someone from one of these smaller, hyped up gimmick franchisors are coming, yeah, these stores are doing 1,800,000 a year. You're going to make 100,000 a year. Uh, Legally, they are telling you something that is correct in numbers. When you look at the numbers, they make sense. That's a theory, but reality, they don't work. That's why very rarely you see a McDonald's or Wendy's go under a franchisee, because your gross versus the net. So I don't mind spending 1.5 million for a McDonald, or buy two of them at 3 or 4 million and net half a million a year. That's a nice, you
yeah.
know. So those type franchises I really love. I definitely love Wendy's, McDonald's, Chick-fil-A is another brand. That's It's a great brand. And I don't know about Raising Cane. Raising Cane has an incredible customer service. I'm not sure if they are in the franchise business or not.
And I think Chick-fil-A, you can't. They're actually not franchised. You are basically there. You're also buying yourself a job, but the investment is minimal because they
Yeah.
want owner operators. There, they absolutely do not allow you to be a multi-owner. I don't know if that's changed
Okay.
recently, but they are a. And I had a client come to me with that the same thing, right? They were looking at investing in franchise.
Yeah.
That was exciting, and you're buying yourself a job, and it wasn't a huge investment, which is the nice part
I
about it. And you were probably making close to those McDonald numbers, but you at the end of the day, when you said I'm leaving, it was still belonged to Chick-fil-A. You had no asset that you can
That's
sell.
true. Yeah.
You're buying yourself a job. It's
Yeah.
it's definitely yeah, there's a lot going on in that, and that's interesting. How kind of shifting gears and but still talking kind of on finance
Hmm.
and especially restaurants. Restaurants are really interesting because with inflation, costs in restaurants have skyrocketed.
Yeah.
What they're charging in restaurants has skyrocketed because as a result of that, right? They have higher rents.
Sure.
How are you seeing the extra pressures on restaurants being impacted in their desire to either obtain funding to stay afloat or keeping them
Well,
from going under? Yeah.
so I was talking to uh, a few of my lenders with everything's going on overseas with uh, the war in Iran and everything. One thing I found out that was interesting, when the economy is actually not good, there's an inflation, uh, there's more demand for money. So ultimately, basically, I'm selling the most attractive product on the planet, which is money. So for us, it's actually good. Not that I want it to be. I do not like to take advantage of someone's suffering. That's I hate to do that. But I just know that what restaurant owners go through, the amount of stress. But if you are extremely good at what you do, when your products are incredible, for example, I am drinking this coffee, which belongs to an awesome coffee shop locally owned called Fox in the Snow. They make it so good that you go out of your way to go to that particular facility. That's true. So if you're extremely good at what you do, people do go out of their way to. So right now, I don't see anything bad about it. Restaurants are doing fantastic, especially where you live in Miami. Weathers are good. Anybody who offers an outdoor facility serving alcohol, I don't think they're hurting. At least not now, God willing. I don't know what the future holds. I don't want to get into politics, but what's happening right now overseas in the Middle East, it's scary. But when there is situations like that, business owners tend to want more money, and so that's good for us. So
Yeah.
I just funded a restaurant in Atlanta, Georgia. They wanted 3 million, and we offered them, and because he was doing 6 million a year in sales, so he's been doing it for 5 years, so we were able to do that. So
That's interesting. Yeah, that is interesting. Yeah, yeah, I see that as well. There's definitely a stronger an uptake in desire for capital, but it has more to do with some
yeah,
for investing. A lot of it has to do with how to offset the inflationary pressures.
right,
And for some businesses, they're actually fighting for survival, and other
yeah,
businesses,
I know,
uh,
doing
it,
really good, yeah,
it's just they just need that there's just this idea that cash flow is king, and if you don't have the cash when you need it, doesn't
yes,
matter how much you sell, right? And
right.
so they need to get past a
The
specific.
only thing I can tell you is that there are younger brokers out there, maybe they don't get intentionally or unintentionally selling the wrong product to the business owner. And I don't call it predatory, but they take advantage of because the commission is higher on those products.
Yeah,
There's nobody to warn the business owner that this may actually hurt you, take you out of business. And
absolutely.
that's what I learned. That's why I focus on a lot of very conservative long term. I could have sold this particular restaurant owner give him 1.5 million and make 10% on it. But it would have taken this guy, he would have crashed because it would have been weekly payments, and that would have killed his cash flow. So I offered him a much more conservative 10, 15-year term, which much less stress on the business owner.
Yeah, absolutely. I've seen that. I've seen the, uh,
Experience.
and I'm sure you're referring to like the merchant cash advances, which is one that I've
I
seen
never do one. Won't
many
ever
of
do.
yeah, many of
Yeah,
business go under because when they come to me and they've already done it, it's very difficult
sure.
to come off of that because there's generally prepaid interest from the get-go. So if you refinance,
Yes.
you're now refinancing. Yeah, it's definitely a difficult position. So yeah, that's good. And at the end of the day, I think people look to you and to me to offer them honest advice of what it works best for them. Yeah, I mean, you have a business, I have a business, and we're here to make money. But you
Yes.
also want to guide your clients to do the right thing and to do the thing that's best for them. Not necessarily because you make more money out of it. I think
Absolutely.
that's
And it's a small world. You do a person wrong, it will come back to you. And then there are Google reviews, and some of these younger brokers, they keep switching LLCs, so they do something extremely predatory, make a couple 100,000, and they disappear and do it again and again and again. There are things going on with attorney generals in New York that they're trying to come after these people, and I hope they will.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, uh, Steve, it's been wonderful chatting with you. I don't know if you have any last words or anything you'd like to share with folks, some insight or anecdote of something that's occurred in your
Yeah,
career.
it's like it's those people who are really interested in owning their own business. Make sure that you do extreme amount of research. Have an attorney to look at the franchise agreement, um, and whether this is truly what you want to do. Um, if you're looking into getting into that particular franchise model, go and work for somebody that does that specialty so you learn, and then go do it yourself. Especially if it's one of those small franchises that it requires maybe put down 50,000, you can finance the other 250. Really look into it, because once you're in it, you're going to be stuck for a good 5 years. So with that in mind, yes, do your due diligence research and make sure this is what you want to do, and don't expect that you're going to become a millionaire by only investing, $200,000. So, that's what I have to say. But,
Yeah,
there are brands out there that are extremely good too. That I don't know that many of them, but there are out there a few of them.
absolutely. Well, thank you so much, Steve. I really
Yeah,
appreciate it. There's lots of great insight. Thank you so
thank you
much
so
for your time,
much.
and have a great rest of
Awesome.
your day.